Hey there, and welcome to the People Who Help People podcast. This is the spot for HR and people ops pros who are all about building better businesses by putting people first. We chat with founders and experts who've been there, done that, and are generous enough to share what actually works. Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of the People Who Help People podcast. Today's guest is Kimberly Carroll. Kimberly is the managing principal at IA, also known as Inflection Advisors. I'll let her tell you about that. And she's been working there for 12 and a half years, solving others' problems in the transformation space. Welcome, Kimberly.
Why, thank you. I am very happy to be here.
I am very happy to have you as my third guest on this
I love it.
podcast.
Number 3. That's great.
Number 3. Terrific. Kimberly, before we started the podcast, you were telling me a little bit about what you do at Inflection Advisors. Could you share that with those listening in?
Absolutely. So Inflection Advisors is an advisory firm. We're very small. We're about 8 people. We're not about 8 people. We are 8 people. Okay. So very small, but the companies we work with are extremely large. Our median-sized client is about 75,000 global company in about 60 to 80 countries. And we do a lot of work around optimization, business case development, selection of technology, and really coaching. We do a ton of coaching because, the CHRO is probably one of the loneliest jobs in a company because they don't have really anybody to talk to. So we become that coach and guidance for them. But lots of experience within the transformation space around HR, finance, and IT. So we're kind of geeks when it comes to all of that. And the work we do is because of the work we did prior. So prior to coming to here, I was at Fidelity Investments for about 13 years and in a variety of different roles and capacity. But I took a lot of that. And prior to that, I was a development controller for Marriott. So I took all of that work, and that's why we do the things we do at IA, is because we're seasoned veterans of corporate America, and we've come to help because we can sit in the seat of our clients. We've done a lot of the stuff that our clients are going through right now.
Terrific. So you're a practitioner-led organization, not consultants for the sake of consulting. We've been there, we've done that. We know your pain. Let us help you through this.
Yeah,
and none of got 12 and a half years of helping companies through various transformations. Now, you mentioned HR, finance, and IT. What's the approximate split? How often are you finding yourself helping CHROs and their teams?
So I would say probably 90% of the time we're still in HR. We've done quite a bit lately, a combination of HR finance. A lot of that is surrounded around selection of technology. A lot of the bigger tech, right? So you've got SAP, Oracle, Workday. They all have both an integrated solution when you look at HR and finance. But that doesn't mean you always have to do that. So, I mean, even though those tech companies want to tell you, yes, you should always have an integrated solution, you don't have to. They have to all work together nicely in the sandbox. We have done process optimization with finance teams. We've also worked with some companies on setting up organizational structures and how they're going to operate within finance. But most of our work has been it's probably like 90% of it is HR, and I would say like 5 to 6% is finance, and then we've worked with some IT teams on some process optimization work, mostly around offboarding.
Why do you say mostly around offboarding?
Because
that is in the IT space.
Yeah. So it is a demand. Like offboarding is it's when an employee actually terminates from the company and they offboard. The provisioning, the de-provisioning of it is sometimes very clunky.
Now I understand.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
We try to figure
connecting it all together,
how to make it better and easier for them to be able to do their work. So
I understand.
Yeah.
We're walking Craig out the door today. We'd like to turn everything off.
Yes.
Can you make it so that we press one button and Craig cannot come back?
Right.
Okay, I understand.
Which doesn't always work that way. So.
Yes. I completely understand.
Yeah.
Been there, done that. Know that pain.
Yeah.
Cool. You mentioned as we were joining the call that you and your team are looking forward to going to in September, HR Tech. Can you tell me more about what your team is talking about as you get ready to go? What you see are some of the current trends that your clients are facing and that you're preparing to address when you go there. Some of those case studies that you're pulling together. I know there's a lot in that one question.
Absolutely. Okay. So we go every year. We actually always speak so this year, my business partner, Mark Stelzner, is going to be doing a panel. Last year, I did the panel. This year's is talking about shared services, and we actually have some of our clients. And most of the time when we go, we're not talking about just technology. We're talking about real world examples of what they're doing. So this year he's got Pfizer, because that's a current client. So Pfizer. So Nathan is the head of shared services or global shared services for Pfizer, is going to be on stage. Last year we had Ticketmaster and Hyatt on, talking about why program management is so important in a transformation. We go every year. I'm also going to be, they have a section, and if you're going to HR Tech, please come see me. But there's a section called Ask the Expert. And I'll be talking about governance structures and how you govern. So when you have a new technology, say you're going from on-premise technology to Workday or the cloud, right? It's supposed to be easier to do all of these things, but you still have to govern the technology itself. Working with clients, we do a lot of work with clients on, and this is where both HR and IT come together, and that's why we work with both, is that we want to show a ways of working in the new technology. Before, on-premise, very tech heavy. Cloud, not so tech heavy. So, I mean, you can work with different resourcing. And then where does responsibility and accountability lie? So we're going to be there. So we're working through, IA has seen, not just IA, but the market has seen a tremendous amount of AI. AI is really coming. HR is slow to AI. And there's a reason why, is because AI it's not like the AI is ever going to be perfect, but you have to really train AI to not hallucinate and give you bad data. A lot of companies don't have good policies, processes to be able to consume that. So what we're doing is we're working through what we call our use cases to go around and talk through, like, employee experience. What are you looking for in employee experience? How does AI actually help with employee experience? What's the difference between AI, all the different AIs, agentic, conversational, all of that stuff, against, RPA, robotic automation processing? So how are you helping companies through this? Because there's security issues, there's hallucination issues, there's challenges there. So we are giving each one of our team members a use case to walk around the floor to talk through with the AI, with the providers, these use cases, to get some answers that we can then help. And maybe we'll probably write an article about it, about what we learned. And then we can take that to our clients as well, because our clients are struggling and trying to figure out how to do this, how to manage AI and deploy AI, because it's not like you can just plop in AI, turn it on, and it's just going to magically work. I mean, go to Microsoft. Microsoft is still rolling out AI itself. I mean, if you go out to their public site, you can see what they're doing from an agent perspective. It's still hallucinating. So it's a challenge. So that's what we're going to be working on. And most of everything about HR Tech this year is about AI, because it's on the forefront of everything. And let me say, for CEOs, don't just think, this is for anybody listening to this and it's a CEO, don't just think that you can just plug and play AI. And you need to have a governing body around AI. You'll need to have responsible AI thought process, policies around AI. It's not just a plug and play option that you think you're going to reduce headcount for. Sorry, that was a long-winded.
You said so much we can follow up. Let's back up a step. So you mentioned that you're going to be asked the expert on governance.
Yeah.
But I think I heard you say governance around moving from on-prem to cloud.
Or
necessarily. So it could be governance around AI.
Yeah,
implementing AI. And
it could be.
Okay. So everything you just rattled off. Got it.
Everything.
And then, you said, my team at HR Tech is going to be going around with different use cases, seeking answers. I love that approach. So it sounds like you divvied up. How many members of your team will be going, and how many use cases are you going deep on?
Yeah, we have 8. Actually, I'm looking at it right now. So we have 8 team members, and we've divvied up the use cases across talent acquisition and recruiting, which is one of the biggest areas. We have a client that's coming that we're working with right now that is looking at AI to in the ATS or the CRM perspective, right? So we have talent acquisition and recruitment. We have employee experience and engagement. So how do you want to do surveying, feedback? What do you want your employee journey mapping looking like? So those are the kind of conversations we want to have with them about that. Workforce planning and analytics, which most companies do a terrible job at that anyways. So we want to see if we can make it easier for them with AI and using AI to be able to do that. This one is not this is the one I'm actually going to work on because it's not sexy, but it's the underbelly of pretty much everything. And our clients grapple with this section a lot of challenges is compliance and operations. So compliance becomes the number one thing you work on. So now you're not innovating anything, you're just working on compliance issues that you have. So I want to figure out, I have questions about that and how to help clients with that. Then we have team management and development, like performance management and stuff like that. And then we have decision support and planning. So how do you build decision support tools, compensation benchmarking? And then we have operational efficiency, which is always needed. This is where the whole RPA versus AI kind of things come into play. And then everybody is going to take those and also ask, security questions or concerns, right? Because a lot of companies are worried about their data getting out and how do you keep it closed looped if you can, that kind of stuff. And then client readiness. If clients are not ready, how do you get a client ready for AI to deploy this? Can you phase it in? Can you bite off small things versus big bang, those kind of things. So that's what we're doing, and everybody's going to choose a section. Even if they overlap, it doesn't matter. There's going to be a ton of vendors at HR Tech. And then there's this whole section. It's like this innovative section. It's brand new providers trying to come out and break out into the market. And it's mostly around AI. So
having attended many conferences through the years, I love the approach that you're taking.
Oh, thank you.
I love how you've divvied it up, and each person has their area of focus. Go talk to everybody. I've walked the floor. I've talked to all those vendors, but it's difficult to get what you need in those short conversations. So when you approach it in the focused fashion that you're doing, and hopefully using a little bit of AI in advance to say, oh, here's all the vendors and here's what they do and here's how it relates to my area. So you can go there and ask smart questions.
Yeah.
I really like that.
That's how we generated the use cases was AI.
Okay.
We used AI to generate use cases and then modified them to kind of what our needs are, but definitely used AI to help generate. We use AI quite a bit in our processes themselves to help, but it's not, part of our role is to also build relationships, and you can't build relationships through AI. So we have to balance AI versus like some of our stuff around, we do a selection process for selecting new technology. We want to, how do we automate some of those things that we're able, like scoring, right? So yes, we have a score, you've scored it. How do we generate the information from it? So those are the things that we're doing to improve our work and to help our clients and to, make it shorter so that it doesn't take so long to select. So
I love that. I love your focus on doing the work we do, but using AI to make us better at doing the work we do.
Yeah.
So let me dig down on that.
Sure.
You said we use AI. What do you use? Now, you might say, oh, we use ChatGPT. Okay, I want to go to the next level down. Did you train your team on prompting? How do you get better at prompting? Somebody out there is listening and they say, my team's not as AI savvy as Kimberly's team. What advice do you have for them for training your team to be better users of AI and to get the most out of it?
Yeah. So we have a couple people on our team that actually on the side do testing of AI. So it was really quite fascinating. So that is one thing that you could do on the side is, sign up to be an AI tester because it will help you understand how to do that. But there's also a lot of webinars that you can go to be able to support it. We do have a software engineer on our team, that a prior software engineer on our team that's so very technical. So he did kind of take us through some training of how to prompt, how to build prompts, how to build and save prompts so you don't always have to redo those prompts. So I would suggest definitely, if you can and you have the time and you have the energy, go test. I mean, it's a great way to get to know the AI tools themselves and how they work. And then if not, and you can go to a webinar, find a webinar to help you, because there's a lot of them out there. And then, you know what, you can't really hurt AI. Go out and just start playing with it. If you use the free version of ChatGPT, of course, you're not going to have all the bells and whistles. We actually have ChatGPT. We bought a license for our team, but we also use Copilot too. So we have two of them that we can use because we're a Microsoft 365 team. So it's okay to go ask questions and see how it is, but you can't always trust the information that comes out. So be sure to review the information that you're asking it for, to make sure that you agree with the information. AI is, I think we said it earlier, is only as good as the information that is provided to it, that it's learning and stuff like that. And it'll get better with time, but it still doesn't produce 100%. So. Right. Especially words. I mean, you got to watch those words sometimes, because sometimes it comes out with words and you're like, I don't even know what that is. So.
One of the tricks that I learned, I attended a Gen AI conference probably 18 months ago. Met a guy named Connor Grennan. Connor Grennan is used to be the dean of the NYU School of Business, Stern School of Business. He's now, I think, their chief AI officer, and he speaks a lot. He has an offering called AI Mindset. He's a good follow on LinkedIn because he posts a lot. I follow a lot of different AI experts to give me the latest and new ways to prompt, etc. Connor told me to stay in the flow. When you ask a prompt and it comes up with this, and you don't understand this part, ask about that part.
That's right.
And then stay in the flow and just keep asking it questions like you're having a conversation. And you'll be amazed at how well it educates you.
Yeah.
So I love what you're doing, and I love how you're doing it. So terrific. You mentioned that you license ChatGPT and Copilot. So for others that are thinking of getting their teams as smart as your team has become, can you tell us a little bit about what you invest in tooling on a monthly basis? Are these things expensive? Does getting a license for your whole team, how much does that cost? And what do you think is the return on investment?
Yeah, because we have Microsoft 365. Copilot is already part of that, right? We don't have to have a separate license for that. And to be honest with you, I don't actually know how much it costs. I know on our P&L what it says, but because for that piece of it, and we're just purchasing ChatGPT, we went through an exercise of looking at ChatGPT. We looked at Claude, and we looked at some other AI tools to determine which one would be best for us. So we landed on ChatGPT, and I think we're doing a 6-month trial before we commit to a full year. And I think it's like $20 or $30 a month per user, but I can't guarantee that price. But as I said, we're going to do a trial. What we're trying to do with it is really look at the work that we do and the steps that we do and ingest AI in those moments, so that it can speed up our process, make our team members more efficient with with certain aspects of our work. And what we don't do a lot of is we still do a lot of generation of content on our own, especially for our clients, right? We're not plugging in a bunch of stuff for our clients. Now, when we do process optimization work, we can throw those maps into now ChatGPT. We use a closed loop ChatGPT. It's not external to anybody else, so nobody else can use our data or anything like that. We can use that to count pain points and summarize data, because like I'm working with this one client, and this client had 443 pain points on a process. Now, before AI, we went through every single pain point and categorized them ourselves and stuff like that. We can throw that into AI, it can and you can say, here are the categories. And if it doesn't fit one of these categories, put it in other, and then we can look at the other ones and either categorize them or create a new category or ask its suggestion for categorization. But what we do is we threw those in, and it took, a minute to be able to put that through. And so it saved us a ton of time to figure out that. So those are the things that we're doing. We're being very thoughtful about that. We don't, as I said, I don't want to just throw everything in there and be like, oh, well, let AI generate it. Because then why do you need anybody here? It's like that. Everybody could just throw it into it. There's something about being able to still provide the guidance that somebody needs, because it's not just like AI can guide you, but how do you execute upon it? Those are the things that we want to make sure that they realize, that AI can tell you how to execute it, but the real tactical how to execute it is very difficult to do. So that's how we're using it. And I love it. It has made things a lot easier for us, but we're still working through it too. Yeah. Just like everybody else.
Let me, if you don't mind, I'd like to unpack a little bit of what you just said. Clients might think that they can take the same 443 pain points and they can put it in AI and it can give them the answer. And then why do I need to hire Kimberly's firm? How would you respond to that?
So it's not just about, so one is we had to identify the 443 pain points, right? So if you saw this process map, it was well over 1,500 steps to be able to execute upon something. You have to unearth that first. Throwing the 443 pain points into AI is just an exercise of what is the real problem. The real problem is that you have 1,500 steps that you have to go through to be able to execute upon this thing. That's why you hire a firm like ours, is because one is we're on the outside and we have an objective viewpoint of the way this process is. You guys can you can not complain. I don't want to say complain, but you can talk about the problems that you have, but then how do you solution to that problem? And our firm does not take a one size fits all. We have common practices. Like, we don't use the word best practice. A lot of, I'm not talking about just consulting, but a lot of providers talk about best practice. And what we call it common practices, because it is only a best practice to that firm that's talking about it. Not a common practice that, hey, this company and this company is similar in size. We also don't believe in benchmarking, because I don't think they don't work. And we'll get into that. We can get into that later. But when you look at, so let's talk about a company that's 110,000 employees, right? They're a retailer, they're global, they have a way of working, and this is what they did. We used common practices to put their governance process together. We get another company that is, say, 40,000 employees, retailer, global, and we have these common practices from a governance perspective. We can use some of those things that we used for this client, but then we get in and we found out other things that then, like, that's why we do such deep discovery, that, we can deploy some of these common practices, but we need to change this X, Y, and Z because of the way you all are, your culture, your ways of working, all of that. So that's why we use common practices and say, yes, from a governance perspective, this was all governance. So from a governance perspective, we need this, and this, but how we do it can be very different. So if you plugged in something into AI, they're going to give you very standard ways of working without real consideration for other factors within that company.
Got it. Many companies are realizing to work AI first, meaning when I think about a problem, let's see what AI offers, but we've got to bring it back into the context of our situation and our specific problem. You've built a team of experts, and that team of experts has worked with lots of different clients. So you understand common practices adapted to specific challenges and how they need to be tailored, augmented by AI, which helps you when you do deep discovery, know which questions to ask, but then also generate a solution set that then you tailor to fit your client's needs. So I think it's very smart how you're using it. And I love the several of the philosophies behind it. In a moment, we're going to dive into why benchmarks don't work. I'll just add one more thing. I stopped using the phrase, I was an HR consultant as well. I stopped using the phrase best practice a long time ago.
Yeah.
I like better practice.
Yeah.
And I like common practice. So very good.
Yeah. I like that.
Benchmarks don't work.
Yeah. So, benchmarks. So when I was at a prior employer, they always used benchmarking, and it's the problem with benchmarking and saying, okay, here are what our peers are doing and blah, 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 is that they aren't, it's never apples to apples. The companies don't always work exactly the same. They're not structured the same. So you're using benchmarking to try to drive yourself to something versus really looking at the core of the problems that you're trying to solve and solving those problems. So when a client comes to us and says, we want to use benchmarking, we can pull benchmarking and blah, 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 or you can go to Forrester or Gartner or whatever and pull those out. But then we talk about, we really talk about what is it we're trying to solve for, and let us figure that out. And then most of the time our clients are like, yeah, we don't need those benchmarks, because we need to actually get to the core root of the problem and not use benchmarks as our kind of go-to to figure out the problem. So that's why we don't believe in them, because I mean, as I said, we used to use them at my prior company, which you already told you was Fidelity, and we were our costs for payroll were 3 times as much as other financial services providers. And it's like, okay, so here's why. Here's why ours is because our processes are not streamlined, blah, 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 right? So you can always fit, but then and then there were certain things that we would say, and they're like, yeah, but we're not going to do that. I'm like, okay, then know that you're going to be 3 times as high as your competitor. So it's those things. So that's why we lead with more. We love process optimization. Process optimization is one of the things, it's the key to unlocking, for us, it's the key to unlocking change. And so we use that versus benchmarking.
I'm taking notes.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I am. I love it. So you pivot the conversation. Your client says, I want to look how do we compare to benchmarks? And you answer their immediate question, but you very quickly pivot to, what's the problem? What's the core of what we're trying to get to? How do you define success?
Yes.
And you work on that. So that's very smart.
Thanks.
Our theme today is how to think like a CEO and less like a consultant, or instead of a consultant. How do you think more like a CEO when it comes to running your practice? You've got an 8-person team. You've got many clients that you're serving. What does that mean to you? Think like a CEO instead of a consultant.
So I will say, I mean, this is just for kind of funniness too, is we actually don't call ourselves consultants. We call ourselves advisors. And if you go to I Hate Consulting, you'll get to our website.
Okay. Oh.
So it's kind of a play. So we are, as I said early on, we're all from corporate America. We all kind of came into consulting a different way, right? We didn't start off in consulting. So our business is a little different. How I think of myself as a leader in my business is that we set direction. We're willing to take risks and we're very transparent with our team. They understand where we're at from a company performance perspective. They know where they're at from a company performance perspective. We don't do traditional performance reviews. We have development planning. We do a merit cycle that is based on company goals. So everything that we do is and to think the way I turn it off from being an advisor or a consultant and thinking about my business or our business is what are the next best things, right? So not just AI and stuff like that, but what is it that we're doing and why are we doing it? So when I first started back 12 and a half years ago, really we were using transformation as our moniker. However, we were really selecting technology. So what we've been doing ever since is making modifications to the way we think about transformation. So I actually brought in the process optimization work because I was like, how does a client even know what they want in a new technology when they're so used to their old technology? So unless they understand their current state, their pain points with current state, and what do they want their future to be, and how do they want that technology to enable their future versus the technology driving their future? So we introduced process optimization with my first client, and it just changed the narrative of transformation for us. It wasn't just about technology selection. It was about why are we like building those use cases? What are we enabling with that technology? And the business having a point of view. Instead of technology driving them, they're driving technology. So every so often we start adding or changing the way we work. So we have to be like, everybody talks about agile. I don't want to call it agile. We are very flexible in the way we work. And we want to make sure we like as one of the I'm a co-leader of the organization. So as a co-leader, we work to reinvent ourselves. Like not yearly, but change the way we do work. And AI is one of those things that is helping us with that. But also, I mean, we see problems in the marketplace. Like this one, we are just now launching out a program management structure. Because what we have found out in HR, and unfortunately in HR, they rely on IT program management. Instead of HR taking on or shared services having a program management office themselves, they rely on technology who doesn't understand HR enough to be able to really drive them. So we've hired a director of program management to put our philosophy together. We've done this before, though. We worked with other clients with some of our clients to build a program management office for their organization. So we're now just formalizing that because we've been kind of doing it on the sides of our desk. But we find these kind of nuggets to reinvent ourselves, to say, okay, why can't we do finance? Process optimization. I know I'm going all over the place and I do apologize for this, but it's just the way I think, the way we think is like back to process optimization. I was like, well, why does it just have to be HR? I mean, we can do process optimization for any process because our process allows for it's domain agnostic. We go in, we ask the right questions, we get them to look at their current state, and then we design a future state that has automation in it and stuff like that. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. Technology doesn't matter. So it's just changing that mindset. So we just reinvent ourselves. And that's what like Mark and I do that quite a bit, is just rethinking, where do we want to go? We're never going to be a huge company. We don't want to be. We like our smallness and we're agnostic. So we don't align to any provider. We're not partners with any providers. We take no money or revenue from providers. We want to stay agnostic. And that's kind of how we've gotten our niche too. So, because that's how we think. We're a little different than some others, but that's how we think and how we reinvent ourselves.
And that's why you make an amazing podcast guest, because others out there are trying to figure out, how do I get to that size? How do I get to that sweet spot that I love my business as much as Kimberly describes she and Mark love theirs. Mm-hmm. So let me drill down a little bit on that relationship. You have a partner. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that we spend time quite a bit. So walk me through that. Are you, do you have scheduled time? Is it, how do you make space for that CEO-like thinking, especially when you have a co-leader?
Yeah. So Mark and I, we meet on a weekly basis. However, like next week, we've decided he is actually keynoting at a conference called Explain. So he's going, I'm going, we're going to sit, he's going to speak, he's going to do a speaking, we're going to meet with some people, and we're going to spend some time together. So we at least on a quarterly basis, we get together and walk through kind of where we're at, what we're doing, and how we want to move forward, right? So what do we want to do from a policy perspective within IA? What do we want to, what kind of behaviors or what kind of things do we want to acknowledge as part of the changes in what we're doing? So that's what, I mean, that's how we work it. And I mean, the way, so Mark, if we were going to say anybody's the actual CEO, he really is. He started the business almost 20 years ago. So I met him through when I worked at Fidelity. And that was a funny story, but he said he had to hire me because of my ability to just command something. And it was kind of a funny story. I'll have to tell you that story. But it was Mark and I, we are different, but we complement each other. So it works for us to be able to run this business together because of our differences. And we're not afraid to talk about those differences, which is something that I think the world needs to learn how to do. And we are not afraid to do that. And we're not always on the same page, which is fine, as long as we can work through the best thing for our company, our clients, the marketplace that we're in, all of that. Because I think if we don't do that, then one of us should leave. I mean, honestly, if it's like that. So one of our teammates, I've worked with her for a long time. She said something about, to me, it was a great compliment. She said, one of the things she's learned from me is that I'm always willing to work myself out of a job. And we do that. That's kind of one of our ethos at IA is we don't want to overstay our welcome at a client. We want to go in, do what we need to do, and move on and teach. And we're very much about teaching our clients how to do certain things that we do. Like we're doing that right now with a very large client around process optimization and teaching them our methodology so that they can do that. But I think that was, as I said, that was a huge compliment because I do believe that people get comfortable and not pushing the envelope. And I think we have to push the envelope as a company because of our nimbleness and our ability to flex where we need to for our clients. So that's how we work really well together.
Sounds like you have a great partner in Mark. I like that you take at least a quarter to sit down and really focus. Mm-hmm. You're opportunistic. We're in the same place. Let's spend some time together. Everybody knows when you go to a conference, there's focused conference time.
Yeah.
And then there's that downtime, but that downtime can be so valuable. Yeah, well, how do you do it with your team? How do you bring your team along? Do you have quarterly meetings with your team as well? I'm sure you have, regular check-ins, but is there focused time as co-leaders with the team?
There is, but we do that twice a year. So at HR Tech, we'll have some focus time with the team, but we also do a company, we call it a retreat. When we first started doing our retreats with our company, it was like every minute was scheduled and blah, blah, blah. And that was so ineffective. I mean, it was just too much. So what we've done is we've spanned it over a 3-day period. And day one is, whatever the agenda is, but we don't pack it full anymore. Day 2 is a fun event for the team to stay connected. So we are a completely virtual company because we only have 8 people. We don't have a local office. And most of our team, there's only one state, I think, that has 2 people in it. So, I mean, it's very small. So we come together and then the last day is around making sure that we have an agenda. So we break it out into 3 days. So we do it once for a full thing, and then with HR Tech, we come together as a team just to make sure that we're staying connected. But then we do weekly meetings with our team and then we have Mark and I do 2-on-1s with everybody on our team just to talk through things and see how things are going. So we try to stay connected, but we're pretty transparent. So everybody knows what our goal number is, and they know where we're sitting, and they know how we're managing the business. So we're pretty transparent with our teams.
Standing. So great partnership, with Mark come together twice a year. One's an offsite retreat. One is taking advantage of HR tech or something like it and coming together. And that weekly transparency that makes it all work.
It does. It does make it work. And I think there's a benefit to being small. Like, we can stay connected. I won't say, because everybody uses the word family. Oh, it's like a family. And it is, but sometimes you don't like your family. So it's like, is that a good analogy? I'm not sure. We're a good, strong team. As I said, we just hired somebody, which was really funny because she came she was a client, and then she moved to another company and was another client of ours, and we liked her so much that's why she became a team member of ours. And really, we focus on program management. But before that, the least amount of tenure is 4.5 years. So we have quite a bit of tenure on our team for everyone. And it's, to us, that's showing something, is people actually like working here. Every company is going to have their challenges, and that's normal. But I think we have a pretty good handle on our team right now. Like, not handle on our team, but like a cohesive team that is working well together.
Excellent.
I think it's good. Yeah.
We have time for one more topic. Okay. And I think I'd like to hear about how Mark convinced you to come join him.
Okay. So this is to me, it's a funny story. So I was working with Fidelity Investments. I was the head of product development or product management for a global outsourcing product that Fidelity was developing. And we weren't doing great. And we were all brought to Ireland. And Mark was a trusted advisor of Fidelity Investments. So they brought Mark here to Ireland as well. And we were all meeting. When we got in the room, there's about 40 of us, and we're sitting there, and I barely knew Mark, but he was sitting right next to me. And they were asking the room to come up with why we were failing. So nobody would say anything. So I pushed myself back, and I actually stood up, and I kind of pointed my finger at the 7 leadership members, and I said, we're failing because of the 7 of you. And you all are not on the same page. You don't have the same objectives. And I kind of flat out said why we were struggling. And I said, I think Fidelity should pull the plug. Mark's mouth went wide open and was like, whoa, I've never seen anybody do that before. So I went off, and he got pulled in with the 7 leaders. And I was like, well, mic drop, I'm going to the Guinness factory. And I went and I met up with Mark and another gentleman. And he's like, they're afraid you're going to quit. I'm like, we should all get fired. And he was like, I think this would work. And that's when, Fidelity did pull the plug, and they should have pulled the plug. And it was the right thing to do at that moment, because we were not doing what we needed to do. We were not hitting our objectives. So Mark and I started conversations at that time, and I actually ended up going back to Fidelity in another capacity after I got laid off, which was a great thing for me, because I found out at that moment that I had hit my ceiling with Fidelity. Great company. I'm not saying anything bad about Fidelity. I think I learned so much from the work I did, because I did a lot of different roles at Fidelity. Mark and I had those conversations for a while, and then he was like, "Hey, do you want to come along?" And I'm like, 100%. They needed someone. So at that moment they were really focused a lot on benefits stuff, where I had HR payroll that I could bring to the table, and my first client was an HR payroll benefits selection. So that's how I became an IAer. That's why Mark and I get along so well, is because of, as I said, we're very different. I'm a very direct. At some point, some people have called me like I don't have a ton of empathy, but I do have empathy. And my father, if you met my father, you would understand why I probably am the way I am. But I think that Mark knew that he would enjoy having someone that was a little different than him. Not that he's not direct, not that
Sure.
I mean, it's just different. The way he is different than the way I am. So it was a good match between the two of us. So I feel very lucky. And I mean, to come to such a small, because at that point we didn't even have 8 people, such a small organization from such a large organization, it was a big transition. So I've talked to several people about that piece is you got to take a chance sometimes. My father said he would have never done that ever. And I get it, but he was.
So this is your father, to whom you attribute your direct style, also said, I wouldn't have had the guts to do that.
He would not have done it. He said that.
And yet I bet he's very proud of his daughter.
He is very proud. I really look up to him. Actually, I really look up to my parents, but with him and what he did in his life is something to me that is something commendable. So I use him as a sounding board sometimes. So
I'm willing to bet.
yeah.
He says the same thing about you.
Yeah.
What you've done with your life is very commendable.
Yeah.
That's an awesome story.
Yeah.
Mark was a trusted advisor, and yet he recognized your ability to stand up at the right moment, say what had to be said,
Yeah.
and look at the outcome.
Yeah.
Two great outcomes.
Yeah.
Plug got pulled.
Yeah.
So no more wasted time.
Right.
Although it must have been fun to go to the Guinness factory.
Yeah. It was.
But 2, that was the start of a relationship
It was.
that has blossomed into the successful company that you've just told us about very generously for the last 45 minutes or so. So tons of nuggets in there. This is exactly why I love this podcast, because others who don't yet have the success that you have, or are grappling with some of the things that you're grappling, how do we reinvent ourselves in this era? Lots of great leader lessons from the thoughts that you've shared. So thank you so much. Thank you for your time today.
Yeah.
That concludes our podcast with Kimberly, and look forward to seeing you back on the next episode. Kimberly, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much.